Tyson Foods' abrupt closure of 5 U.S. processing plants in early 2025 sent shockwaves through American agriculture. For thousands of workers and their communities, this wasn't just a corporate move, it was a seismic event that erased jobs and upended local economies overnight. Tyson, a longtime industry giant, left many questioning the stability of the nation's food supply chain and the future of meat processing in the U.S. The closures exposed deep vulnerabilities: market consolidation, supply chain fragility, and the high cost of modernizing aging infrastructure. As communities scrambled for answers, the industry braced for a period of disruption and realignment, marking a painful new chapter for many. In March 2025, Tyson Foods made a headline-grabbing announcement that sent shockwaves through the American food industry. The company revealed plans to close several of its major processing plants, specifically targeting facilities in Missouri, Indiana, Arkansas, and South Carolina. These locations have long been central to Tyson's operations, focusing primarily on poultry and prepared foods, products that fill grocery store shelves across the country. The affected plants have been vital employers in their communities, providing thousands of jobs and supporting local economies. But Tyson's decision was driven by a combination of factors that have been building for years. The company pointed to aging infrastructure and underused capacity as key reasons for the closures. Many of these plants were built decades ago and now struggle to keep up with the demands of modern food production. Rather than invest heavily in costly upgrades, Tyson chose to consolidate production in newer, more technologically advanced facilities that rely on automation. This move was also a direct response to volatile feed costs, ongoing labor shortages, and the rising expense of modernizing outdated facilities. Feed prices for corn and soybeans have fluctuated wildly, squeezing profit margins and making it harder to operate older plants efficiently. Tyson's new strategy is clear: cut costs, boost automation, and better align with shifting market demands. By investing in state-of-the-art technology, the company hopes to streamline operations and remain competitive in an industry facing rapid change. The closures highlight a deeper industry trend, prioritizing technology and efficiency over the traditional labor-heavy model that once defined American meat processing. Automation is quickly replacing manual labor, fundamentally changing the nature of work in these plants. While Tyson framed the move as a step toward long-term sustainability, the reality is a fundamental restructuring of the American meat industry. The shift is not just about cost savings, but about transforming how food is produced and delivered nationwide. The decision left both industry analysts and workers reeling. For employees, the closures mean uncertainty and job loss. For communities, it's a blow to local economies. The ripple effects are already being felt far beyond the factory gates, raising questions about the future of work in rural America. Tyson's bold pivot marks a significant turning point, accelerating the industry's shift toward automation and consolidation. As the company leads the way, others in the meat industry are likely to follow, reshaping the landscape of American food production for years to come. The closures meant instant job loss for over 7,200 workers, devastating towns like Knoll, Missouri, where Tyson was the largest employer. Many affected employees were immigrants and refugees for whom these jobs were a lifeline. The loss rippled through families and communities, forcing some to consider relocation and straining local support services. Tyson offered severance and encouraged transfers, but for most, uprooting wasn't an option. The closures fractured communities, overwhelmed local resources, and left thousands facing an uncertain future. The human cost extended far beyond lost wages. It was a blow to the very fabric of these towns. The crisis underscored the vulnerability of communities dependent on a single employer. The economic fallout didn't stop at the plant gates. Local businesses, farmers, and governments all felt the shock. Tyson's plants were economic engines supporting contractors, suppliers, and hundreds of poultry growers who now face financial ruin. With their main customer gone, farmers are left with debt and specialized infrastructure they can't easily repurpose. Housing markets slumped, tax revenues dried up, and public services faced cuts. The closures triggered a downward spiral, making recovery and attracting new industries even harder. Local leaders now face the daunting task of rebuilding economies from scratch. The closures exposed the risks of relying on a single industry and the fragility of small-town economies. The challenge: how to recover and diversify in the wake of such a sudden shock. As the U.S. reeled from the sudden shock to its food supply chain, Canada saw a unique opportunity to step up and play a pivotal role in the region. While American producers scrambled to adapt, Canadian industry leaders and policymakers recognized the moment as a chance to both support their southern neighbor and strengthen their own position in the market. Canadian food producers and government officials moved quickly, launching a coordinated effort to fill the void left by Tyson's closures. Plants ramped up operations, and new shifts were added to meet the surge in demand from the U.S. market. The sense of urgency was palpable, as both public and private sectors worked hand in hand. Federal and provincial support, grants, loans, and streamlined regulations empowered companies to expand processing capacity almost overnight. Emergency funding was made available, and red tape was cut to accelerate facility upgrades and workforce training. This rapid mobilization showcased Canada's ability to adapt and innovate under pressure. Industry giants like Maple Leaf Foods and Alamel quickly assessed their ability to scale up, targeting U.S. buyers who were now scrambling for new, reliable suppliers. These companies invested in new equipment, hired additional staff, and retooled production lines to meet the specific needs of American clients. The Canadian response was framed as both a smart business move and a step toward greater North American food security. Officials emphasized the importance of stable cross-border supply chains, positioning Canada as a dependable partner in times of crisis. By boosting production, Canada aimed not only to capture new market share, but also to strengthen its position in the continental market and enhance overall supply chain resilience. The goal was to ensure that food shortages would be less likely in the future, benefiting both countries. The narrative emerging from this effort was clear: Canada as a stabilizing force, not just a competitor. The country's actions were seen as a commitment to regional stability and mutual prosperity. This swift, coordinated response positioned Canadian companies to capture significant market share and forge new cross-border partnerships. The collaboration between Canadian and American businesses grew stronger, laying the groundwork for future cooperation. Ultimately, the disruption became a catalyst for Canadian growth and influence in North American food production, marking a turning point that would shape the industry for years to come. In the wake of major industry changes, Maple Leaf Foods stepped forward as a leader, announcing a bold $500 million investment to expand its poultry processing operations in Ontario. This move was not just a response to market shifts, but a clear signal of Canadian ambition and resilience in the face of global competition. The comprehensive plan included the installation of state-of-the-art processing lines, the integration of advanced automation technologies, and the expansion of cold storage facilities. These upgrades were designed to increase efficiency, boost production capacity, and ensure the highest standards of food safety. Importantly, the expansion created 800 new jobs for Canadians, providing a significant boost to the local economy and supporting families across the region. Maple Leaf also forged stronger partnerships with local chicken farmers, working closely to secure a steady, high-quality supply of poultry. This collaboration offered stability and new growth opportunities for the agricultural sector, strengthening the entire supply chain from farm to table. The company set its sights on value-added products, such as seasoned, marinated, and ready-to-cook poultry, directly filling the gap left by Tyson's plant closures. These convenient, high-quality products were tailored to meet evolving consumer preferences and positioned Maple Leaf as a go-to supplier for both retailers and food service providers. By focusing on these higher-margin offerings, Maple Leaf aimed to secure lucrative contracts with major U.S. grocery chains and restaurant groups, expanding its reach beyond Canadian borders and tapping into new markets. This ambitious expansion was supported by both modern facilities and government backing, positioning Maple Leaf to compete head-to-head with U.S. industry giants. The company's investment reflected a broader vision for Canadian food processing on the international stage. The expansion was a calculated bet that the supply chain shift would be lasting and that Maple Leaf could become a key, reliable partner for U.S. buyers seeking stable, high-quality poultry products. The company's leadership believed this was a unique opportunity to reshape cross-border trade. In the end, the competitive landscape of North American meat processing was fundamentally altered, with Maple Leaf Foods emerging as a major player ready to meet the demands of a changing market and a new era of food production. The Tyson closures and Canada's expansion have redrawn the map of North American meat production. The center of gravity is shifting north, with more poultry now flowing from Canada into the U.S. This realignment means new logistics, trucking routes, and increased cross-border trade, testing customs and border infrastructure. U.S. processors now face stiffer competition from efficient, well-capitalized Canadian companies. The result? Downward pressure on prices and a race to modernize. From a food security perspective, a more geographically distributed system is more resilient to regional shocks. While painful for affected U.S. communities, the shift could ultimately stabilize the continental food supply. The industry's new reality: more competition, more automation, and a supply chain that spans the border. The future of meat production is now a North American story, not just an American one. Tyson's move has accelerated the industry's shift toward automation and consolidation. Other giants like JBS and Smithfield now face pressure to modernize or risk falling behind. The era of labor-intensive plants is ending, replaced by high-tech, capital-intensive operations. This favors large corporations and could drive further industry consolidation. Canada's rapid response proved the U.S. market is open to international competition, raising the stakes for American producers. Consumers may see short-term price bumps, but long-term competition could mean lower prices and more Product of Canada labels in U.S. stores. The transformation will reshape everything from factory floors to supermarket shelves. The future belongs to those who can innovate, automate, and adapt to a globalized, competitive market. The Tyson closures mark a turning point for the North American meat industry. Automation and efficiency are now the driving forces, but the social and economic costs are profound. Canadian expansion has redrawn the competitive map, creating new opportunities and deepening challenges for U.S. communities. The industry faces a critical question: how to balance technological progress with the well-being of workers and towns left behind. The story is one of loss and opportunity, consolidation and expansion, as two countries respond to powerful economic forces. As the dust settles, the industry must find a path that serves both competitiveness and community stability. The future of food production will depend on how well it can evolve without leaving its people behind.